Okay, I think that we're live. Let me check. Michael Spader, mailbox. Well, heck, I think we're streaming. I don't know how you're going to find it if I can't find it. Michael Spader, live stream. Well, this says I'm live, so I'm going to go ahead with it. And if anybody else out there can tell me if they're seeing this, it would be really appreciated. But it says that I'm streaming, so we'll see. I think I've got something wrong in my settings because the same thing happened on the last video, the last stream last week. So good morning, good morning. Come on in. I'm starting a little late and appreciate you showing up. If I'm looking through, James Spader, the actor, really buries me. So do 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 do. Come on, silver-haired Sketchers, where are you? I don't know where that live stream is. I don't know how you all would find it if I can't find it myself. And but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway, just in case someone gets a chance to see it. I think a lot of you will see it. Okay, today, what? Let's see what we're up. Everybody's wetting their paints, right? Uh, getting their paints, getting a brush, dip it in the water, put a drop or two in each of your paints. And let me get you the drawing going here, showing you what we're going to do. I'm going to make it just a little bit Let's see. If you're watching on television, it's probably a little bigger, a little better. But here we go with the drawing over here. Let's make it a little bigger. And it's just a plain old mailbox. You know, Sherry and I are traveling still. We're still on the road. Today we're in Washington, uh, near Seattle. I'm camped in an area that it's beautiful, beautiful here. We're at the 1,000 Trails, it's called, campground. And our campsite is very typical of all along the coast here, Washington and Oregon, where there's blueberries ripening, and some ripe and some coming, and all the way around our campsite. So, I mean, they're 10 feet away from me that way, 15 feet away from me that way. The back of the site is over there at 30 feet, and berries all over the place. All kinds of, anyway, really nice. They're spiky. I don't know if you've ever been, if you're in this area or live in this area, but they have like rose bush thorns on them. And the sun is still fighting with me, so it'll be gone in a few minutes, though. It's going to go up over the awning here in a minute, because then uh, I will be able to play easier. Yeah, they have like rosebush thorns on them, so you have to be careful when you pick them. And they are a little tart. They're not like the nice berries that you buy in the store, but they're pretty tasty. And I think today Sherry is gonna. Last week we bought some peaches from one of the other campers that was selling peaches. And I think this week she's just gotten control of those a microwave that's also a, what is it, convection oven. So I think this week, in the next few days, well, not in the next few days, we're going to go visit family that live up here for the next couple of days. But in any case, I think we're going to pick a bunch of berries and try and make like a berry cobbler or a berry pie or something. Should be fun. Let me see if I can get this drawing big enough for you to watch it full. Uh, that's about as big as it'll go, I think, and still fit in. And oh, how's that? There's the sketch, and there's me out of the picture, so you can just watch that for now. Well, maybe I'll put myself back in there. And here's me, here's my drawing. Let's see, where's that sketch? Do, 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 do. And maybe you can see a little bit of me drawing. How's that? Boom, 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 boom. There you go. The sunlight here, I've got this piece of cardboard up here trying to block the sunlight out. And I think I'm just going to do this one. The sun is going to creep up over the top of the awning that's put out on the camper. So this distraction here, I'm hoping will go away in a few minutes. Let's see, I've got my paper turned wrong, right? Need it to be this way. And I think I'm just going to use my, what is this one? This is a made in Japan custom 74 Pilot. I really like fountain pens, as everybody who's been in one of my life classes knows. Uh, they are just my thing. Here's the original in the sketchbook. I don't know if you can see it because of the light difference there. Maybe if I, no. How's that? Is that any better? It's just a cute little thing, opportunity to practice a little bit of rust. What would rust look like, and can you paint it? So I'm just going to draw one here, and while you get yours on your paper, I think you might check the heights and things like that if you'd like. I'm just going to start right here by drawing the handle to get it out, or to open it, right? Put a little something down here. And with that, I'll go ahead and put some kind of a mailbox behind it. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh. And if it comes out a little wonky, that is what you're looking for. So don't be upset if it doesn't look perfect, because these loose sketches, that's what we're after. We're actually trying. We want them to look loose. We want them to be that way. So however yours comes out, don't stop. Just go ahead and finish the painting. I'm going to put a dent or two in mine. I am going to make it be a little bit smaller in the back, as though it were drawn in perspective. And on this one, this is, you might want to draw, look at where let's see, I can show it this way best. Look at where the milk container is under the mailbox, and you want to put the milk container in before you draw the post, because the milk container is in front. So some people even start with the milk container, which is a good idea if you feel confident enough to do that. So I'm going to make this milk container slightly more level on top than I did the other one. The other one has a little bit more of a, the first one I did. See how the distance between here and here determines how you're looking at it. It looks more like you're looking down at it, and yet the side looks more like you're looking at it this way, sideways. So it creates that wonkiness that I'm talking about, the looseness that, makes it look, which a lot of these that Sherry and I do, we do on location. This one I didn't. It's just I had seen something similar to this in our travels, and so we created this one. Hope you have your hope you have your cup of tea. Hmm. I never seem to get enough. I don't know if I've told everybody. I may probably mentioned this in a video a while ago, but I got COVID. We get all the shots and all that kind of stuff, but about, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, I got COVID, and I was sick for like 7 days. I mean, bedridden, man. I was sick. Oops, I went a little, want to put a base here, and I want this to actually be a little wider. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that line in there and just enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy the fact that it's loose. Um, yes, and after drinking coffee all my life, I came out of that COVID, and I no longer can drink coffee. I just don't care for the taste anymore. And chicken makes me almost nauseous to eat chicken. Isn't that weird? Pretty strange, huh? So this one has a really thick uh, stump or stand on it. You can leave it that thick. You can change it and make it thinner yourself. The only thing that I would try to do if I were you is not line up any lines. Like this line should not line up with the edge here. Okay. Doo-doo-doo. But it doesn't have to be as thick as the one I am doing there. I'm going to make this one very similar to the one I had there, as far as that is going. Down here on the bottom, be careful, pay attention. You want, for sure, one thing that's important is to see the distance between here and here. This distance that you do is what separates the milk jug, making it be further in front. So be sure that you have a distance here. Don't put them on the same level, okay? I'm just putting some kind of indication that there'll be grass here or weeds or something. And I might even do a couple here, even though they're not in the other drawing. A leaf just flew in to visit us. There are all kinds of trees around me. I'm going to put this back here, some grass, and maybe a few things here. You can put in like little rocks if you'd like. You know, you could put a rock or two here. You could put a big rock back here. You don't have to do this. I'm just adding this in. Just randomly putting stuff in there. Okay. I'll give you a few minutes to get yours drawn in there. Let's see. I could, this milk thing. Now, you can see how cattywampus, that's a good word, cattywampus. It's a dictionary word. It's a real word. It's credible. Maybe not, but I like it. Uh, the word milk, I just spelled it. It doesn't really match in perspective. It's not correct. It slants up the side of the thing. But I like the looseness of that. I don't worry about making it absolutely perfect. I am going to go ahead and put a little ridge around the edge here. This one. And I'm going to go ahead and spell out the word mailbox. If you have a hard time doing that sort of thing, putting mailbox in there, one thing, of course, if you really want it to be neat, you could put a couple of pencil lines like that, light ones, construction lines, and then draw it in and then erase the construction lines. But one thing that makes it easier, if you look at the word, for instance, mailbox, L and B are in the middle of it. So if you start with those two, L and B, then you can pretty much make it fit by putting in the other words going backwards. I, A, M. I still got it pretty tight. See if I can do milk. I like this where I started the M just on the edge. If you have a real hard time doing this, again, you can just draw a line. And if you want it to be perfect, that line would match this arch. And you would arch the line right here. And you would arch the line right here. And then put your letters in between. Does anybody remember when I was in high school, I got my car and I would ride just to the edge of town in the North Valley there. There was still dairies. And even the milkman, when I was in high school and middle school, what they call middle school now, we called it junior high then. The milkman would deliver milk in glass bottles with a paper top. And I still to this day just think that is the best. You would get that milk and it would have heavy cream. The cream would have settled. They didn't separate it back then. And so the cream would have settled to the top. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I would drive my car down to the dairy just so I could get a bottle or two. They were small bottles, single serving of that cream for myself. I just thought that was a heck of a treat. There is some kind of a latch up here, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to put a little thing there. How we coming? Everybody got something drawn in there? Right? It'll be interesting to me. I'm going to check and see if this video shows up anywhere after this feed. Okay, I think that the sun is just about gone far enough. I still have a little sun on top. So I'll put the cardboard back for a few more minutes. I've got just this piece of random black cardboard stuck in there. There. I'm letting my ink dry just a little bit because with the ink, it kind of has a tendency to run sometimes. I am going to shrink up the sketch because hopefully you're getting close to having yours finished. And that way you can see my little piece of old t-shirt and part of my paint box there. The sketch should be still up in the corner for you if you need it. On this one, I am going to do the same thing. I think we did this last time. I can't remember what we did for sure. But I'm just going to make a vignette with the sky. Not going to try and fill in the whole painting. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can, on this one though, I'm going to do this one where you wet this area. I've got blue on mine, sky blue. Well, it's ultramarine blue. But I'm just going to wet this area back here all around. And I'm doing it with blue, but I'm also going to put in more water than that. If you're in a dry climate, you may want to take a clean brush and wet a lot of the area first. I'm in a very damp environment. It rains and there's fog. Of course, I'm not in the same one I was last week. We have since moved. And anyway, mine won't dry very quickly, so I don't have to worry about drying times as much as, say, I would in New Mexico or Arizona. So I'm just going to put some dampness in here. And that gives me the ability to add the blue wherever I want it. Right? Just let it fade out. Remember last time we did it slightly differently where we put the blue down and then wet and dried our brush and come back and just kind of take it out like this. Oh, can you see that? And take clean water and try and get it to come out a little bit so that it fades away. Right? You can do it either way. I need a little bit more blue under here. That last location was so wonderful, man. We were bike riding It's a beautiful trail back there they call the Discovery Trail, but it goes from our campground. Well, it actually goes much further, but you can reach the bike trail from the campground in like 7 minutes of riding, and then of course you have to push the bike through a minute or two of sand to get to the bike trail. But then, for instance, the day before we left there, we took the dog down to the beach in the morning, had a very pleasant walk on the beach, and the dog runs up and down. And then that evening, after dinner, we got on the bikes and went down the trail, and there's benches, there's beautiful tall grass, like in between knee high and waist high, tall grasses that just cover the whole area with these small little hills and undulations. It's just beautiful. And then, of course, the ocean is there. And there's benches. So we went up a small hill covered in grass, and there's a beautiful bench there. And there's a post that's labeled Mr. and Mrs. Eagle, because eagles come there and sit on the post. But we didn't see one that day. We were sitting on the post, or sitting there on the bench next to the post. And a huge migration. It had to be 50,000, but I'll bet you it's closer to 100,000 birds in a line going just maybe 2 feet off the water on the Pacific Ocean, just headed south. I mean, it went on for like 20 minutes. The line just kept passing us, going by, of these birds. We couldn't identify them for sure. They weren't like pelicans or geese or anything like that. They were a smaller bird. But oh man. And just before that, we had stopped on the bike trail because some people were watching whales out there in the ocean. And while we were watching the bird migration, there was a buck, a deer, not 15, 20 yards from us, grazing. It's just such a pleasant place. I hope we get to camp there again one day. Okay, everybody have a sky in while I ramble along. Let's see here. Okay, the next thing, I'm going to let the sky dry up a little bit before I move on with the mailbox. So, since this is kind of damp up here, I'm going to move on to the milk jug and do a little bit of that. You can now, the milk jug with the sun is coming on this one. I put the sun coming from this side, kind of like this, right? Shining on the front of the milk jug and on the front of the mailbox from the front of the post there. So, but what I didn't do is there should have been, or there could have been, not necessarily, this could be shading this, but we might want to leave a little highlighted area in here on the milk jug. I'll show you what I mean on this one. I'm just going to make a little bit of a dirty gray. I like to lean most of my grays to the cool side, I like to have a little bit more blue in there than anything else. So I don't like it to look too brown a lot of the time. My point is that shadow could have had this shape to it, kind of like where it arches down and leaves a little bit of this exposed. So to indicate that the sun was coming this direction and hitting that part. Now, in truth, I want that part to be gray. But since I've put this shadow in here to show you, I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and then I'll come back and we'll gray that up. Okay? So to make that gray, I'm going to use that same gray, kind of like I did the shadow. And I'm just going to go over the whole thing with a little bit of a wash. You can leave some white highlights in these ridges. That's one that works, that shows up. You can leave, like as I did on the original, leave uh, the milk letters. You don't have to paint them in with this color if you don't want to. Leaving some whites makes those ridges look like they're brighter. Those bumps or those whatever they are. And you can, while you're doing this, I'm going to take just a touch of burnt sienna. Or not, yeah, burnt sienna. And start putting in a few rust spots here and there as I go along. While this is wet, so it kind of looks melted in there. A week ago or so, we watched I think it was called the First Wives Club. We've seen it before. And they sing an old song in there. Don't tell me what to do. Don't da 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 da. You don't own me. Da 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 da. Anyway, that song ever since the movie, it's a week later. I can't get that song out of my head. It's an earwig. I like the song, but oh my gosh, you don't want to listen to anything all the time. And I'm going to put a few more rust, maybe some right down here along the bottom with that burnt sienna. Another one that works is you can add in a little bit of yellow ochre. There's a good rust color. You can put it in every once in a while, a little piece of that. Don't tell me what to do. Yeah, it was a great movie with who all's in it? Goldie Hawn and Diane Keaton and Bette Midler and somebody else. I can't think. Are you getting yours in there? Getting some rust added in? Let's see. See if this is drying up a little bit. No, it's still pretty damp. These are really pretty quick. You can do them fairly quickly, fairly easily. Doom, doom, doo, 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 doo. We have got all kinds of things going on. The we're trying to visit, and we're also trying to go to the San Juan Islands. But the ferry needed to be booked months ago, so we've had family that had a ticket already that has given us that to get across, but we need to get across the ferry at a certain time. And the campground where we're at doesn't normally store the camp trailers, and we're not taking the trailer with us because we're staying with friends for a few days or family for a few days. And um, so Sherry is down there talking to management to see if we can leave the trailer here. for a few days, and oh, it's just we'll see. Everything's up in the air right now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put in some gray on my mailbox. I'm gonna use the burnt umber for the mailbox gray, but it's still pretty much the same thing. It's just a bluish gray. And you don't have to make yours the same as mine, but I kind of like that they come out similar. If you look at this, some other time we'll do this other mailbox ones. See this right there? How the grays kind of make the thing come together in that theme. So you want the front of the mailbox, and the top is going to be the lightest part. You don't want to paint the red flag at all. And if your sky is still wet, try to stay in from the bent metal there on the corner of the edge. I'm going to just put the paint that I've got there and move it around so that I can make it lighter. You can even leave some white highlights on top if you'd like. Could just leave a little bit of it light. Now, these are all one way to do this. There is artists that I've seen that would not do this. They would mix the shadow color, because this is going to be in shadow here, and just paint the shadow color from the start, and maybe put a little bit of it coming out lightly. And here they would just mix the light color that's going on here and do that, and just leave it that way. Here again, I'm putting in a little rust. You don't have to put it where I put it, but I try to put it where I think it might even run down a little bit. Could just be like that, a little bit over here. Sadly, this location must have a gun range somewhere downwind, a little way from here, because I'm hearing pops, and my dog is gun shy, we'll say. So she's in the trailer, not hanging out with me. I'm going to take a little of that burnt umber, and put it right on top of some of that burnt sienna there for little darker areas. Because rust is not always exactly the same everywhere. I might even come back down here and throw a little bit in there. That dry up a little bit, and we will move on. All right. Oh, you know where I could put some rust is right here on the letters, or right next to the letters, like that. I didn't think of that. That might work. If it's too straight for you, you can dampen your brush and then dry it off and try and blend a little bit of it in. Another place you can put some rust that really looks cool is in these dents. Like if you put these dents here, you can put rust in the dent and let it kind of fade out. I'm just using a lightly damp brush there to fade out. I hope it doesn't blossom. It probably will, because this wasn't wet enough. So I'm going to wet the whole thing around it in an attempt to try and stop it from doing what they call mushrooming. Excuse me. These locations really work on my allergies. For the post that's holding the mailbox up, you can see here, see that lightest color? I'm going to mix this lightest color first, that right in there, and cover the whole thing with just a light brown. And I'm going to have to clean off a little bit of the area here, because I have blues. I think I'll start with a little yellow ochre and take a little bit of burnt sienna and use mostly yellow ochre for that base color. Because I'm going to come back with some other colors. And while I'm moving down, I'm going to change it up. Add a little bit of burnt sienna there so that it's all not exactly the same. I'll go back into my yellow ochre mixture. And maybe a little bit more of that burnt sienna. And again, like we did last week, I think we did this. You can negatively paint if you want to put some grasses in there, leaving the painting around for the grass is going to come later. And I'll do something similar on this side over here. Of course, this side's going to get a deep shadow here in a little while. And take a little burnt umber and throw it in there. Could even be leave it. See how I left it kind of thick right there? It looks almost like a knot hole. Well, oh, that song. I love the nostalgia of oldies and rock from the 60s and early 70s. But that song is driving me crazy. Since I went ahead and put a rock in there, um, I'll go ahead and put some paint on it just so it's kind of gray. I could paint around negatively, but just put a little paint in there and let those dry up a little bit. Hopefully, won't look they'll dry in time. They might get just washed out when I put the ground in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the red flag in there. Hopefully you can see how bubbled up mine is. This paper stays damp. Everything here stays damp. In fact, this paper was sitting in what I call the basement of the trailer, and that I had, because I want it to be a little faded red. I don't want it to be bright. So I'm going to put. Did OBS go offline there? Are we back online? Yeah. And you can come back and take some bright red. I'm using cadmium red, but whatever you have there, and just put a few spots in it here and there, because things don't fade all often exactly the same. You could, if you really want to do that fine work, you could come back with some burnt sienna and put a little rust spot on that, or some yellow ochre. But I think it's probably pretty small if you're using the patterns. If you would like to be involved in this, all you have to do is send an email to spaderart@gmail.com, and I'll put you on the list, and we send out a pattern every week, and it's a 5x7 pattern. So you can transfer it or trace it, or, whatever you want to do. While all this stuff is drying up, let's go ahead and go in here with another layer. We put that shadow in there, but I'm going to go right over that shadow because I want it a little darker with a gray. But I'm also going to include this area because the milk jug is not all white in there, right? It's just that this area is darker. These jokes. This joke came from what's it called? Alien dad jokes on YouTube. Have you ever been there? Oh, I really enjoy those. I don't know who did the artwork, but that's amazing artwork, and the jokes are kind of funny. They're pretty dumb, but still. Uh, let's see. Which runs faster, hot or cold? Hot does, because you can catch a cold. Mm, okay. Okay, so that one's a little. Hmm. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. Some of them are a little. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to take some yellow ochre and go ahead and put in some of this grass here. And if you hold the brush further back, a lot of times it's easy to put see those little flings in there. And that's a little dark, the yellow ochre. I'm going to dab some of it out there so that maybe it's more visible. And you don't have to do it all the same color. I'm going to go ahead and put a few. I'm going to add just a little sap green or azo green to my yellow ochre mixture over here, and make just kind of an off. It's just that it's a little bit different than the color I just put in there. Holding my brush way back, so I'm kind of letting the brush decide where the paint's going to go. Putting some some grass in there. This is, one way, if you really want to get serious about doing these, one way to do this. A lot of people in the old school masked this off. So, and then they would paint everything and then rub it out so that the green they would paint the green in there, mask it off and paint it, or paint it, or leave it white, mask it off, then paint everything, then take the mask off, and then carefully paint those in there. An easier way, if you're interested, is, we're not doing it here right now, but to have gouache on hand, because you can do this whole watercolor painting and then just come back with a few touches of gouache. Gouache is just like watercolor painting, only it's thicker, so it has more pigment, so it shows up over the watercolor painting. This is taking forever to dry. How are we doing? I'm going to work at trying to get these videos to come out better. When I get back, we get back in another month or so, and I'll make an intro for these, an introduction, and I'll really work at getting these settings fixed, because something's goofy awry with the settings that's making it, like the last 2 weeks, the thing I had set up didn't come on, so I just had to go live. So I've got something wrong in the settings that I need to suss out. Is that the word? Now, this is getting pretty dry here, but I still am not quite happy with it. Doesn't look rough enough for me. So while it's just about dry, I'm going to add just a couple of things in here that are just some random movement, some, you can make small things, you can make big things, and just a little more aging, dirty, who knows what it is. You can also put just a little color in these handles if you'd like. Maybe I'll put a little bit in here. I'll give this just another few minutes to dry up while I'm going to make a little bit of a brown, or a darker gray for the shadows. I'm using burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And with that darker color, I'll make it kind of thin. Let's see. I don't think those little spots are dry enough yet. We'll give it another minute or two. Are you caught up with yours? Another thing you can do is invite a friend over to the house and do these together. It's kind of fun. Have somebody to paint with, mix your, your tea, or I try to broadcast these early on a Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock West Coast, or and time, and 10 o'clock Mountain Standard. But what I was going to say is, you could have your hot toddy, some kind of a drink, either a tea, or for some people, I guess, you could have a hot rum, since it's coming on fall. Maybe I'm a little early. It's not quite fall yet. A little teeny weeny spider just landed on my hand. He's crawling right there. I don't know. Oh, he's out of the camera. Let's see if you guys can. Oops, he went down the crack of the table there. Sorry. You won't be able to see him. Oh, there he is. He's back. See him over there? Little bitty spider. I'm just gonna while that's going on, I'm gonna put some detail in here. I'm gonna take some of this darker color and put a little bit of a shadow detail in there. My liner here has not been wet. You need to wet it first. Wet it first. There's Spader. And I can't do that one yet, but I can do right under here. There would be some shadow. This little spider's coming toward me now. He's over here, just to the left there, on the camera stand. Oh, and you can, if you have a fine enough brush, you can put some shadow in here, and that makes the lettering three-dimensional, as though it were raised, on the can. Okay, I'm just going to have to go for it. I'm afraid it's may not work. It may pick up some of the other things, but I'm going to just go from about here and say that the shadow is in here, right? You can wait a few minutes on yours just to know that we did this. I'm going to soften the edge here as it comes around the bend of the mailbox. And I'm going to come down here with some shadow. Right? This side is all in shadow. This handle isn't because it's in front of that. I'm afraid I didn't make quite enough shadow of material here, so I'll make a little more. Under here would have some shadow, and you can either put it in straight like I am there. That's a little darker than the rest of it. Or you can say that the box is at an angle or the sun is at an angle. And you could angle the shadow that way. And we're going to have a little shadow on the jug. So there's the one that goes under there, but then it cuts down and cuts across, over, down, and down. And then it would go like that there if I had done that ridge. There's another ridge there. I'll show you in just a second. I want to get this all in here before I stop. And you could say that that shadow fell across this, but that the sun came in here and hit the lip of that. I don't know. You can do it however you like. Meaning mine's not perfect, but that's the whole, when you do urban sketching, if you folks decide to try urban sketching, which I highly encourage everybody to do, anybody who enjoys the idea of either getting out with like-minded people, or likes to draw and sketch, or both, Urban Sketchers is the place. You know, it's a .org, it's a nonprofit, it's free to do. You can join up the local chapter where you are. If there's not one, you can start one. I think they have a rule that there has to be 60 miles between the chat. I'm putting some darker shadows in here, and this would have a shadow that probably went right over the rocks there. And let's see, I'll make the bottom a little wider of a shadow and maybe make a little bit of a shadow there. Just some random stuff for the shadow. And the shadow of the mailbox and the post would come out this way, right? They may even be pretty close together. I don't have a reference of this, and I don't have it in my mind. I just have it in my mind, so I'm not really sure how how much light is sneaking through that way. But we will say that that much light is sneaking through that way. Yeah, kind of fun to to get together with a friend and either go urban sketching or sit at home together watching these videos and do the lessons or do the thing. And if you send an email in there, you'll have the pattern to work from. And we're going to do some holiday ones as we approach the silly season, right? Where everybody goes crazy, spends way more money than they need to or should. And now I'm just going to put some random, these are just random, could be a flower, who knows what they are, things in here. They were a flower at one time, maybe, you know. And you see how I'm kind of breaking it up. They don't have to be a perfect line. I'm using mostly burnt sienna for this, but you can make them other colors. You could put some red flowers or some dots, some poppies in there, or that you might think are poppies. Like, we'll do this, houses. We'll take some flower or some red material here and put in just some little scratches of red, as though there were some flowers over there. And those flowers would have some kind, so I'm going to take just a little bit of this sap green. I think I have azo green in here, and just give a little bit. This actually makes it a little more colorful than I made the original. So it's just random stuff, right? Just movement. I'm afraid today, well, I'm not afraid, but we finish a little early today. I'm going to let this sit here for a moment, but I can't do too much. I would like to sign it, but it's very wet down there. I think it's too wet. This will probably just run to put in a little bit darker areas down here. A little bit darker areas where those other rocks are. You can, if you like the whole splatter thing, you can do a little bit of a, oops, let me turn this sideways. I'll try it this way. Can you still see it? Yeah, I'm going to shield it and put just a little bit of splatter up here, right? because I didn't want it on my milk jug there, just on the ground. We're going to be finished a little bit early today because I'm not going to sign this one because it's wet still there. And I still don't have michaelspader.com up and running yet. It's coming soon, but that switch, I timed everything pretty poorly. I thought I would be able to build that website much quicker than I did. So, but I closed out my other website and got a new web host, and so I still don't have the website up. So I can't even tell you to go there. So just keep looking for Michael Spader on YouTube, and eventually you'll be able to go to michaelspader.com again, as you used to be able to. Oh, oh yeah, the sun went over the ridge a long time ago. Did I tell you the one about the snowman? I can't remember. Did I say that during this one? What does an old snowman look like? A glass of cold water? That's another one from the Alien Dad jokes. I'm going to take my fountain pen. You can do this with your pencil as well. Just put in a few. I'm just making this a little busier. You can put in a few, what do you call those? Uh, the lines that are in the wood. There are also a few you can put in. I'm putting them in with my fountain pen. You can put them in with a dot of paint or your pencil. But a lot of times there are little rivets going on the bottom of those old mailboxes. Here's another one too. You could put just a hair of a shadow right here, right? To make that a three-dimensional thing. You could put just some light lines in here as though they were dents or pieces or things or who knows what. Just try and not go too crazy with it. Try and not do too much. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. Enjoy the day. Hope you got to paint a little something there. And if not, I hope you got to use the pattern. Here, I'll give you one more thing here quickly. Here's an opportunity for you to photograph the pattern. Get your phone out. I'll give you a few 30 seconds or whatever while I sip my, let's see, while I sip my tea behind the pattern. There we go. Mm. I do like a little caffeine in the mornings. Did you get a picture? All right. I will see you the next time, folks. Thanks for coming. Hey, you should subscribe. Leave a comment on YouTube. All right. Take care.